What's up, guys? Welcome back. Another episode of the Average Money Podcast. A guest episode tonight. A good buddy of JJ and I, actually, Jon Schoeller, is going to be joining us, talking real estate, a real estate boss, if you ask me, and also a work ethic like you will never hear in your entire life. In my opinion, I had the awesome opportunity to actually interview him a couple years back on my YouTube channel, and we've stayed friends. And like I said, it's going to be a nice casual conversation. We'll try and keep it appropriate, but Jon's pretty straight out guy. He'll keep JJ and I in line. If you are new to this podcast, my name is Brad Finn. I'm joined every week with the one, the only JJ Buckner. JJ, how are we doing tonight, bud?
I'm good, man. I say I'm good, but I'm actually a little nervous. And I say I'm nervous because I'm talking to two vegans. You guys are going to attack me.
No, we're not that type of people. Vegans are, but you are outnumbered by the vegan community right now.
I will say this, though. You guys are going to be proud of me. I bought stock today in Tattooed Chef.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So I'm part of the clan kind of today, ain't I?
Yeah, you always won. You're going to be an honorary vegan tonight.
Cool.
I thought you were going to say you're nervous because it's very, very rare that we talk to somebody who might be more of a real estate guru than you are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't consider myself a real estate guru at all. But yeah, I mean, Jon's definitely a knowledgeable guy, as everyone will find out today's episode.
He might be a real estate big shot.
Yeah,
big shot.
Definitely.
Big shot. All right, buddy. Jon, how we doing, pal? I know we're sitting over here talking about you and you want to get a word in.
I didn't know if you had to introduce me first or not.
And the one, the only, Jon Schoeller.
That's more like it. I'm nervous as well. I got two big YouTube stars. It's scary, man. I didn't even know you guys talk to people like me with only 7,000 subscribers. I didn't even know.
Yeah, no, we're gonna hold this episode actually till your YouTube channel starts to take off a little bit.
That's what
and then we'll get it out. Yeah,
Perfect.
we're gonna wait till you can quote get on.
My wife was like, "You're jumping on a podcast tonight," and I was like, "Yeah, I had no plans for it, but it's JJ and Brad. You know, it's Average Money." I was like, "They're only second to Bigger Pockets."
Jon's got the jokes tonight.
Speaking of which, I think your wife has more subscribers than all of us combined.
No, I think JJ passed her. I think JJ passed her. She thinks she's at like 35,000.
Oh, okay. For anybody that doesn't know, I mean, people that follow me are going to find out that they do kind of know about you because I talk about the real estate deal that you were able to give me. But before all that, can you give a brief summary? Like, you don't have to do a tell-all, but I need people to understand that you've been working your butt off on odd jobs and entrepreneurship and on business since you were a teenager.
Yeah, so I'd like to say I came from pretty humble beginnings. You know, I had I got my first job when I think, was it 13 and a half or 14 and a half, whenever you get the worker's permit. And I was in high school, 9th or 10th grade, and I was working Dairy Queen. That was my first job. And
hold on a sec. Hold on. I got to press the pause button right there. We just talked about the dairy thing.
We did. This is pre-vegan.
That's funny.
This is pre-vegan. Yeah, I was mixing the Blizzard and holding it upside down, making sure your spoon didn't fall out. I was doing that. And,
young and dumb.
Yeah. So then, I actually moved. I moved from my dad. I had a rough relationship with my stepmom. Moved in with my mom at 16, 17. I moved to a whole different school in high school. About 10th or 11th grade was the transition. I started working at a golf course when I got there. And then I did part-time for a little while at UPS doing the loading the trucks. I did that after school. So it was like you get out at school at like 3 or 4, you go to UPS from like 6 to 11 at night, and then you go back to school again. And I think I made it 2 weeks. I think I made it all about 2 weeks. But anyway, so I started with the job and had a job like most people. And throughout all these jobs, I got fired at every one of them or quit them early and realized it wasn't for me. And I went to school. I wasn't smart. I had like a 2.3 GPA. So that would tell you I was stupid. I wasn't stupid. I was bored in school. I didn't like the way it was taught. I got bored quickly. And so anyway, I couldn't go off to college like the rest of my friends. I panicked when I graduated, and I went to community college. And I started taking business classes. And I quickly learned college wasn't for me either, because I was getting 120% on my test with extra credit in my business classes, and I was getting 65s on my psychology classes. And
Can't even say it.
Yeah, I can't even say it. Yeah, so I failed that. And I was working for a company at the time called Handy Helpers. And basically what we did is we delivered furniture and big items that you buy at big box stores that you can't take home in your car. And they don't have a delivery service. So you'd be amazed, like Dick's Sporting Goods, Big Lots, Pier 1, these places oftentimes don't have their own delivery services, and they hire companies, third-party companies like this. And this company was growing quicker than they could, and they didn't know how to manage what they were doing. And so they were about 5 months behind on paying me, give or take. And they went on vacation. And I was like, you guys are going on vacation and not pay me, whatever. But I was essentially the manager. I was essentially running this business at this point. And I didn't know it, but the mattress lady at Mattress Warehouse pointed it out to me, and she said, John, without you, this thing would go under. You're essentially running it. We're going to fire them because they're not invoicing correctly and they're not doing things on time. We're going to fire them. If you get a moving truck, we'll give you the contract. And like the lights went off over my head because I knew what they were getting paid. I was getting paid $10 a delivery for a mattress, and they were getting $75 a delivery. And they'd give me 10 out of that.
Wow.
Now, keep in mind, we could do 10 to 20 deliveries a day. So do the math. Keep in mind I was only 20 years old. Yeah. And that was just one store. That was just one location, but I could have that contract. And I was like, I called up my buddy Drew. I had a little bit of savings. I didn't save like I did. I wasn't a saver like I am now, and didn't know about money like I did now. So anyway, I called up my buddy Drew. He got some inheritance from his mom. He gave me the money, and I ran to Pennsylvania like in 2 days, grabbed a box truck, and I pulled up to the store and loaded up. And as I was pulling out, because I was on time, as I was pulling out, Handy Helpers was coming in to load up. Keep in mind, they didn't have a load. Their load's on my truck.
Oh, yes.
I just waved. I didn't know what else to do as we were passing each other. So they had to go in there and have the awkward conversation that John just took off with all of your deliveries for the day. I think I made like, I don't know, $300 and some that first day. And that was in a day, and I was only 20. So I was like,
oh my gosh.
Okay. So then college came around, like when people come back to school. I was making $600, $800, $1,000 a day delivering twin size mattresses. And then I quickly realized I didn't even need an employee. I learned how to carry every type of mattress all the way up to a California King by myself. So my friends, check this out, how cheap I am. They pick on me to a day for this. So my friends, I would say, you can ride with me today, but if I don't need you on the delivery, don't get out of the truck because I'm not paying you. And they would do it. I said, you don't have to come with me, but if I need help, if it's going upstairs or whatever.
Oh, wow.
But if you get out of the truck and I don't need your help, I'm not paying.
Oh my God.
So anyway, as I was moving these college kids, they would often ask me, well, hey, will you move my dorm room furniture real quick? I'll give you $300. And I was like, wait a minute. That only took me like an hour. I just made $75 delivering your mattress, and then $300 for moving your stuff. I made $375 in about an hour and a half.
Yes.
So then I started advertising on Craigslist when you could do that for moving services on the side of my delivery gigs. Now, keep in mind, after Mattress Warehouse, I just followed Handy Helpers around and watched as they failed. I picked up their contract. So I had about 8 contracts delivering furniture. Pier 1 would pay me like $200 to deliver a couch. So deliveries were paying the bills and moving was the side. Well, I started this business around 2008, 2009, 2010 when these businesses started to fail. Okay. So I panicked and I started moving more and doing deliveries less because there was no deliveries. They went out of business. I was scared. I put in applications at work. I applied at CarMax during this time and they didn't hire me. Best thing ever happened because I could have went back down that route. CarMax could have hired me and I could have went into sales, which I would have been fine at, but I might have not stuck with the entrepreneur thing. So anyway, they never hired me. I didn't get the interview, but moving started picking up off my Craigslist ads. That's when it took off. I could make $60,000 in a month. What? Just moving, me, another guy in a truck, moving college students. I do 6-7 moves a day. I would never take a day off. I did this for almost 8 years. For 8 years, you won't see any vacation pictures of me in the summer. All my vacations were in January or December, January, February, 9 times out of 10, sometimes in June, but I was anxious because I wanted to get back for the college kids coming in. But that's when all my vacations were slow times. The rest of the times I was working. And I was the type of guy, you call me mid-set, I'm benching in the gym. Hey, I need a delivery from Big Lots. I would stop my set and go do the delivery.
Oh, wow. That's tough too.
I was saving every dollar of this too. My wife and I had roommates while we were married. I give that example of how cheap we were. So my bills were probably never more than $800 a month, So, meanwhile, I'm making pretty good money. Yeah. So I did this for 8-9 years. I'll speed it up. Did this for 8 or 9 years. I got bored of the moving. It was hard on me, my back, everything. I was on almost every move. I think I only missed 3 moves due to migraines the entire 8 or 9 years. Yes, I made mistakes. I should have hired people. I should have turned that into a legit company, but I learned. So anyway, I sold it. Sold it to a friend. He cashed out his 401k, and he owner financed it for 1.5 years about while my wife and I travel nursed. So keep in mind, I'm still making good money because I was getting 40% of every move. And all I did was handle the calls. Why in the world I didn't just set that up as a permanent thing instead of ever selling it? Kick myself in the butt to this day. That company, here's a funny story. That company just sold again 3 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
That's the third time it sold the second time it sold since I've sold it. Yes. So anyway, while we were travel nursing, had a lot of money saved up now. My wife's making pretty good money. I thought I was good. I thought, okay, you know what? I'll just travel nurse with my wife. We went to Maui. We went to LA. We went to Palo Alto near San Francisco. I was like, that's going to be the life for me. And maybe I'll day trade or something to stay busy. Oh boy. I went from working every single day just about with my phone ringing off the hook and everybody needing me.
For years.
To nobody needing me.
Yeah.
And it's a weird feeling really quick. The money didn't matter. People were like, can't you just check your bank account? That didn't help. It did not help. If people could just check their bank account, LeBron would have stopped playing basketball a long time ago. Right? Yeah. Tom Brady stopped throwing the football.
Right.
People need to, well, not everybody, but I'd say a lot of people find out really quickly you need to be needed and you need to work.
That is such a good point because I experienced the same exact thing when my wife and I did the same exact thing you and your wife did. We travel nursed to Hawaii. And I didn't have to work. I didn't have to work at all out there. I took my computer from the company I worked part-time for, but it was like sometimes 5 hours a week, and I hated doing it. But I quickly found out how fast not having like task or something to work on or to keep you busy really does take effect in you. Because I literally was wanting to leave Hawaii to come back home because I was depressed just like sitting on the beach and drinking beer. Like you can only do that for so long. Then it gets old and you're like, I need something to occupy me. So I know exactly what you mean by that. And that's just, I'm wondering if that's, because that kind of goes hand in hand with like the whole financial independence aspect. And John, I think you made kind of a good video on this, but for some listeners out there, they may hate the job they're in. So they want to reach financial independence so they can quit working for good. But I guarantee you, give it a few months, maybe even a few weeks, depending on the type of person you are, and you will get tired of it. Am I lying?
No, it sounds good. It sounds good in theory. And it was for a little while. When we first got to LA, I needed the break. That was the first stop we did was LA. And it was 3 months assignments. And we had a rooftop pool and a nice apartment. Keep in mind the travel nursing agency pays for your nice apartment. We didn't have really any bills outside of cell phone and like insurance, car insurance. They paid the health insurance. We didn't really have any bills. And it was cool. It was really cool. And keep in mind, during this time, I'm still making some money and I'm still doing a little bit of work because I owner financed the company. Yeah. But when that finally fell off, probably the most depressed I've ever been in my life was in Maui. And I tell people that and they're like, what? Yeah. Like, your wife's making good money. You got money saved up. What? It was like, I just had nothing to do. My wife would go to work for 12 hours. Here's the worst part. They're like, well, she's only working 12 hours. Yes, but she worked nights. So that means she was gone from 7 p.m. to 7 in the morning and then slept until 2 or 3. Yeah. So I'm from the time I wake up 7, 8 in the morning till 2 or 3 in the evening, I'm alone essentially. Now I made friends eventually, but they were travel nurses too, same schedule. Anyway, long story short, I got bored. So we had a long talks in the hot tub, and where were we at? We were in Palo Alto at the time. We had these really long talks about her going back to CRNA school. She was a nurse. We knew CRNAs made good money. almost triple what nurse makes, depending on where you take the work. But it's 3 years of school, and it's $100,000, right? And I said, well, I know it's worth the investment. That's the easy part. Take $100,000 your first year you're out, you make $200,000 plus some opportunity cost over the 3 years, but it works out. Within 3 or 4 years, you're at break even. After that, your ROI is through the roof. And I said, okay, you need to decide if you would love doing it and if you want to go through the school. She thought about it for a little while. She decided yes. She applied. We moved back to D.C. Now, keep in mind, I'm originally from Charlottesville, Virginia. We moved back to D.C. about 3 hours north of where we're from and waited for the answers from the school. It's a very low percentage to get in, and it's even lower the first time you apply. And travel nursing isn't the best thing on your resume. But anyway, she got in. She got accepted to Charleston, West Virginia, where we live now, to Marshall University. And during this whole time, I was researching real estate. I wanted to get into real estate. I was going to real estate meetings. I was going to startup meetings. I was at some of the first Lyft fundraising meetings, and I didn't put a dollar in.
Oh, man.
I'm just curious because why did you choose that? Where did the real estate switch happen? Because you haven't mentioned real estate at all. So what was all right, I'm going to start researching real estate. What was that switch for you?
I read Real Estate Investing for Dummies while I was doing the moving company. That sparked my interest. Then I found Bigger Pockets, and I'd watch that from time to time. But I wasn't sure real estate was going to be my route, especially not during the moving company. And I lived in Charlottesville, which was it became a really high cost of living place. In fact, if I knew about real estate then and how to invest then, my net worth would look a little bit different, just a little bit different. But I didn't, right? Because that market's tripled, quadrupled since we left there.
Wow.
So I wanted to get into real estate because I started Googling, like anybody starts Googling, how to grow your wealth, how to take money you have sitting and grow it. In real estate, 90% of wealth is through real estate, right? It's a statistic out there. And I was like, all right, there's got to be something in this, right? And I've always flipped things. So a lot of things I didn't mention in my previous story. I owned a mattress warehouse myself. I bought truckloads full of mattresses and flipped those. I used to flip street bikes. I've bought and sold over 40 street bikes. If I could buy it and flip it for a profit, I did it. So the next evolution of that was going to be houses. I just had to figure out how to do it. And I was scared. I was the definition of scared money. I worked really hard and saved a long time for my money. Now you make the wrong investment too quickly, it can go south. So I went to all these meetings in Palo Alto and Maui and in LA. The market out there, again, through the roof, right? You need a few million to play in their game or know the right people. So anyway, when she got accepted into Charleston, West Virginia, I researched who was doing what here before I moved here. And I said, this time, I know we're going to be somewhere for 3 years and not 3 months. I'm going to do real estate. And I wrote in my goal book, you guys think this is funny, but I said within the first year, we need to flip 5 houses from the first year of moving there. So we tripled that, quadrupled that. But that was the goal. So I met up with Andrew and Steve, who are now my business partners. And I said, Andrew, Steve, one of y'all meet me somewhere. I just want to pick your brain because I want to get into real estate investing. Had no intention of joining up with these.
And you'd never met them, right?
Never met them before. They had a podcast.
Is that how you found out about them then?
Yeah, it was through searching, and then I found the podcast, and then I started listening to them through their podcast.
Got it.
And I reached out to them before I ever met there and had a phone call with them, and they said, when you get to town, let us know. We'll meet up. And
so you cold called them?
This cold call. I cold called 3 different people, Tyler, Brad, and Andrew and Steve, 3 different companies. I wanted to meet with all 3 of them. And Andrew and Steve, I just hit it off with Andrew, and then I met Steve a couple of days later, and I hit it off with them, and I said, look, I'll teach you guys how to use Instagram, because that's what I showed them that in the first meeting. They were like, please come in and consult our team on Instagram.
Because we skipped over this, you had an amazing Instagram because you learned photography as one of your hobbies in Maui. You won some award, Hawaii photo of the year too.
That's exactly what it was. I got Hawaii photo of the year and won a trip back to Hawaii.
Oh wow!
What was funny about that? Yeah, but
right,
that was
so
really
you
cool.
you had Instagram game. All right, so you were going to help them with Instagram,
right? So I went in there to consult with them on a Monday. It was March 1st of 2017 now. It'd be 4 years this March. So whatever that is. Mm-hmm. I think it was March 2017. I went in with them on a Monday to consult with them on Instagram and never left. You fast forward 3 months from there, we were just calling it was the weirdest thing. We were just calling each other business partners. And then all of a sudden, now you fast forward, I'm CEO of the company. And, we all have our things that we do. I'm not CEO because I'm anybody better in the company. It's just what fits me best. That a lot of people get confused by CEO means you're owner or above everybody. But oftentimes big companies will just hire CEOs because that's what they're good at. They're good at organization and keeping people on task and keeping up with everything. That's my skill set.
Is that what you presented in that meeting? Like, what did the meeting, were you like, hey, will you hire me? Were you an employee? What was that meeting like?
No, I'm never for hire. So we got that out. We got that out of the way real quick. But I did not mention that I had any money because I did that for the longest time. That has its pros and cons, but I didn't want anybody to link up with me or to befriend me or mentor me because I had money in hopes of getting some of that money. So it was a good month and a half before I said, hey guys, I can invest in some houses as well. And they were like, oh, okay. Now the first few meetings about the partnership was me buying in. That was the first few meetings. They were good at what they did, but they were not good at some other things. Right. And so what that meant was they had holes and I was good at those things. It was just a weird puzzle piece and I happened to fit. So I'm really good at managing money and strategizing money. That's what they needed. They knew how to make money. They didn't know how to strategize it. I had more years of business experience than them. They had more years of flipping experience than me.
Okay. Right.
They had what I wanted. I had what they needed, whatever you want to say.
So I got a few questions off that.
Okay.
And the first thing is you kept mentioning like these skill sets you had. When you started this business, kind of like almost, it sounds like on accident with the hauling company. Like, where did this come from? Like, where did you learning how to even run a business at however old you were when you bought that truck? I mean, where does that come from? Because that's not something I feel like you can really be taught. Did you kind of learn on the fly? Did you hop in? You're like, I got this. I know what needs to be done. I mean, what was kind of your thought process, not only on that, but then kind of growing those skill sets and then plugging it into that partnership with the real estate company?
So, yeah, I think some of that is natural or personality based. Not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. And here's another fallacy. Entrepreneurship is not necessarily better than being an employee. Not necessarily. If it doesn't fit your personality and you don't know how to run a business, you will quickly discover you'd rather be an employee. My wife would rather not run a big business. She'd rather have her schedule handed to her. And when she gets off work, her phone doesn't ring. And I empathize with that sometimes. I want to know what that's like every once in a while, but I can't have someone telling me what to do. Somebody handing me a schedule. That's not going to fly for me. And no, when I got thrown into the fire, I took a huge gamble, didn't have much to lose when I was 20 years old, but I took a big gamble in buying that truck and scared crapless that I couldn't pay my friend back his money and that I was going to fail. But I quickly did the math and I said, as long as I work hard enough, I can work my way out of this. The business doesn't necessarily need to grow or be big. I just need it to give me at least 10 deliveries a day and I'll get out of the debt that I owe at least. And there's stuff in there that I slept in my box truck for many nights because I had to be up the next morning. I lived 30, 40 minutes away and I didn't want to put the gas money in the truck to go back home and back. Yeah. So y'all don't know that my actual car broke down during this and I didn't have a car. My vehicle was my box truck. So I went through the McDonald's drive-through with my box truck and ripped their awning off their drive-through.
Oh no!
So it could be stories for days about the sacrifices I made. Here's one more. I would do, in a mattress delivery, you bring one in, you often take one out. Now don't throw up. I took it out of a clean house, but my bed was a king-size mattress that I took out of somebody's house, and I had it strapped in the back of my box truck at all times, as long as all the deliveries would fit. If they wouldn't, it went in the trash, and I got another one that day, strap it to the wall, and then at night, I unstrapped it. It fell down in the back of the box truck, and that was my home for the night.
Wow.
I did that a lot. And we called it the Box Truck Hotel. My friends don't know about it. So anyway, no, I had to learn. I had to learn how to bookkeep. I was always good at organizing. That helped me a lot. But I had to learn how to do my bookkeeping and organization and invoicing and scheduling and logistics of the deliveries. And then I had to learn how to, okay, I have 5 deliveries today, but they're 45 minutes apart. So eventually I built a map to hand to all of my contractors or contracts. I hand them all a map. These are days I go here, right? If you want me to go off map, that's fine, but it's more. Right. So I learned all this stuff, and logistics and scheduling and organization and money management is what my skill sets I came really good at. What I am not really good at is growing. I am scared to death to hire 10 employees, 20. I'm lying to you. I'm scared to death to hire 1 employee. Right? Steve and Andrew, they go 100 miles an hour. Right? I'm the clutch or the brakes to their gas pedal, and they're the gas to my clutch or brakes. Now, that doesn't always go smoothly, but that's how we feed off each other. And that's what naturally led me to Andrew and Steve, and we became partners. It'll be year 4 in March. And to date, we flipped over 150 houses together. We have another 100 houses in rent to own. We have probably another 10 or 15 actual just rentals. We have another 9 houses on owner financing.
So, let me ask this. So, that was a lot.
No, dude, he drops. It's crazy because you get the idea that, all right, he's got his ish together.
Yes.
And then he starts reading stats, and you're like, whoa. How? I'm like trying to count on my fingers. I'm like, how many freaking doors did he just say?
So let me say this then. Let's say there's a newer investor, and John, it sounds like you are well versed in the real estate industry. You know kind of a little bit about everything. So if you were talking to a newbie right now, and they said, John, I want to get started in real estate, what should I do? What would your answer be to them?
Get around the right people as quickly as possible. There's no other real shortcut in my mind. I mean, I can't tell you to quickly raise $100,000 or produce $100,000 to buy your first house. I can't tell you quickly know how to flip houses from A to Z. I can't tell you. You can't figure that out overnight. But what you can do is get around people that know how to do all that stuff, and then lend whatever you're good at. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you're just good at marketing or running an Instagram page. Similar story to mine. That could be beneficial to somebody, and you trade that quickly.
So let's fast forward a little bit then. You've got your 150 plus homes flipped. Sounds like you and your wife own some personal rental properties. What's kind of your end goal? Like, so me as an entrepreneur, I wouldn't necessarily call it an end goal, I guess, but it's more of like that comfortable stage. And what I mean by that is right now I'm still having to work every day to have an income coming in to pay for my lifestyle. But there's that sweet spot, there's that sweet spot where you have enough money coming in from real estate, from stocks, from whatever it may be, dividend stocks, that's paying for your expenses, maybe even paying for your full lifestyle. Do you have a sweet spot like that to where you can kind of feel, okay, I'm a little less worried? Because I'm sure, us being money guys, I'm sure we all think about that stuff every day. Every single day we're thinking about our money, what we're going to do moving forward. So do you have something like that in mind for you and your wife, saying like, we got to have this much coming in from our rental properties or whatever type of investments you all have to be able to feel almost like not complete, but secure, I guess?
And what part and percentage of this is like hobby and enjoyment for you? And what part of it is like, because I know that like there's probably a piece of it that you really freaking love.
Yeah. So excellent question. So I could tell you yes to that answer, JJ, that there's a number, but I would be lying to you because we've hit that number several times. So I thought at first it was just like, oh, as long as we have enough money to cover our bills and you work, as a nurse, would say 3/4 time. So, you work 9 months out of the year as a nurse. That's roughly, as a travel nurse, that's roughly $50,000, $60,000 in income. We got all my money working in the market. So that was that. And then I quickly got bored and I have to work. So then, the next number was a millionaire, become a millionaire. That's everybody's chasing that. Means nothing. All right. Sorry. That's privilege speaking a little bit.
No, it's not.
Well,
Dude.
a little bit, because a lot of people don't even have $100, right? So I don't want to say $1 million's nothing to somebody listening. It's a lot of money. But when you get into this goal-oriented mindset, this entrepreneur mindset, you start reaching goals. First it'll be $100,000. The next it'll be $5. I can compare it to your YouTube subscribers. If I told JJ where he would be at, if I told him 2 years ago when he was struggling at 1,000 subscribers, he'd have 50,000 subscribers. He's got more than that now. He would be like, I'd be content with 50,000. But he's lying to himself because now he wants 100,000. When he hits 100,000, he'll want 200,000. And Brad, you've been down this road too.
Yeah.
Right? And almost what happens is you almost get burnout when you don't get to that 100,000 real quickly. And then you're like, I probably was going to do something else or get focused. And then you hit that 100,000 and gives you a second win. And now you're like, oh, I'm cruising again. I know this has happened for you, Brad, and it's happened for me. I wanted to give up. Y'all know how many times, right? I'm just not a quitter. So the same thing happens financially. And it's a really weird thing that it's always another number. You will always set another goal. But yes, you need to be self-aware and figure out quickly, are you working your whole life for money? Or do you legitimately find enjoyment out of this? And that's fine, but you got to find enjoyment out of, I'm attached to 8 or 9 businesses now. I'll announce it first time live. I just finished the contract. I'm selling my 50% stake in the CrossFit gym.
Whoa.
So that'll be January 1st. That'll be
welcome to the club. I sold the CrossFit. Welcome to the club.
Right. We have a lot of similarities, but so I'm selling out of that. And this year, 2021, I have said that I want to get a lot of my time back. You guys know I have a toddler in my life now, a little baby girl, and that has brought a ton of perspective in my life that not only am I denying more time with my wife, which is super important to me, now it's kind of doubled down that I want to see her grow up. I want to see her, I don't want to miss any of her first. If I can help it, I don't want to miss it.
You posted today on your Instagram a picture of her at school, and you're like, "This makes me want to be a stay-at-home dad." And
I can't deny that it does. So,
do you consider yourself quote financially independent though?
If we both stopped working today, we could make it. I mean, without doubt. Now, could we live as comfortable as we ultimately want to? That's pretty much the only goal. The only money goal left is that we want to fly first class from time to time. Not all the time, because ultimately I just think it's a waste of money. But when we want to, we can, and I don't have anxiety over it. So for me, because I've been frugal and saving for so long, I have anxiety around spending money to this day. Now, it's sometimes detrimental, and sometimes it's hard for me to buy a laptop. But I don't get mad at that because that got me to where I am.
Right.
Really, that self-discipline and teaching myself that. Because I was 18, 19, I was blowing my money on little Honda race cars and, living paycheck to paycheck. I was never really in debt, but I didn't have much money. And now I have that and have that stability. I never want to lose it. So there's some anxiety surrounding it today.
What do you spend money on?
Travel is easy. Mm-hmm. Rihanna and my daughter are easy. Those are easy things. She's got more LeBron. My little girl's got more LeBron James shoes than I got. That's because I got one pair off the Facebook Marketplace. But it's so the funny story about this laptop. I finally bought the new MacBook Air because all the raving reviews around it, the M1 chip, and I've watched several videos. But I've needed a laptop for about 4 years now. In fact, I'm gonna.
Don't forget to write that off from your YouTube channel.
Oh, I am. So anyway, it takes me a long time to spend money. Another example of that is I wanted a Ferrari forever. And I actually went to the Ferrari dealership with the intention of purchasing. Thought about it for a little while, and I went through the highs and lows. And I have a picture on my phone today, and I took the quote back in my hand. I have a picture. It's me holding this quote in front of the Ferrari, and it's don't sacrifice what you want most for what you want right now. Yeah. And what that meant is that $200,000, $250,000 that car was going to cost me, because I was going to pay cash, because I said I have to own it. Can't lease it, can't rent it. I was going to pay cash. Well, that $250,000 in the real estate world, I'm making 25, 30, 40% returns on some of these deals. Do the math. That $250 in that Ferrari goes to $200 real quick, almost instantly.
Yeah.
I can take that same $250, and now here's the problem, JJ, because this circles back to your question you asked. How long do you make that argument with yourself? And I'm sorry, I can't.
Are you going to have a Ferrari? Are you going to have a Ferrari one day?
A little bit of conflict.
And would you be the only person in Charleston with a Ferrari?
One of for sure. I don't know, because I've said I would. I was going to do it by 30, and that's when I took the quote in. But I just felt like it wasn't time. But I think I'll just make that argue with myself. It's a stupid purchase. No matter how you slice it, it's 100% a want, not a need. Nobody needs a Ferrari. So I don't know if and when I'll do it. But yeah, so anyway, JJ, sorry, I know that was a long-winded answer to your question, but I don't know if there is a number, but you should enjoy at least, or work on enjoying when you reach the original goal. So if that's 100,000 subscribers for you guys, make sure you take that day or that week or that month if you can and enjoy it, because I skip that a lot of times.
And then go on to the next one. My question back to the real estate is, and this is something that I'm curious of because I have nothing going on, is there's many different ways to invest, quote, in real estate. What's your favorite way to make money through real estate? And does it change according to, say, like current market conditions, or, is there a better time to flip versus buy and hold versus short-term rental versus, what is your favorite way to make money through real estate?
So if I had to pick one, and this has evolved for me, and a lot of reasons that I am so capital heavy all the time. And Bryce picks on me because he was like, "You just have that money sitting there," and I was like, "Well, it's not sitting; it's opportunity money because I use it to invest, just like you do, Brad. With how Brad's an investor inside of our company, and we give him a 10% annualized return on his money. Mm-hmm. Now I'm partner, so I get a little bit better than that, obviously. But every other investor's on that. So just so we're clear, Brad, every other investor, we keep it.
I heard you say something, and I'll cut you off because what you're saying is, this has stuck with me forever since you told me this. If I got upset with the money you made off of, quote, the money I gave you, then I forget how you phrased it, but you were like, I have to be happy with what I have regardless of what you're getting. And you said that you get that a lot, that if I found out that I got 10% and you got 30, then I'm going to be pissed off when, if I didn't know how much you made, right? What did you call that? I forget, like how you said, like, you can't be worried about what the other person's making if you made a good deal.
So it was the wholesaling video, I think, and it should make no difference to you what the other person's making if you're happy with your return and the agreed upon return amount is coming to you. Yeah. So there should be no difference or any type of hard feelings. So like wholesaling is a big one. So in the wholesaling, if you're new to real estate, wholesaling is essentially finding a deal, locking it up in contract. You never purchase it, but you lock it up in contract for, let's say it's $50,000. Then you quickly find somebody like me and my company, and we buy it from you for $60,000, right? But the person that you've locked it up in the contract for, you're going to make that $10,000 spread. Mm-hmm. If we get upset about that, that's our own problem because we agreed to pay the 60. What you make on the back end of that, if our numbers work, should be of no consequence to us. Right? I don't care if you only pay $10,000 and we pay $60,000. There should be no difference. The same thing with return on investment. If JJ and I make an agreement that he gets a 10% return and I pay him that 10% return and I make 30% using his money, it should be of no consequence to him. Unless I'm lying to him or doing something shady or not paying him on time, You
guys pay me early, for the record.
There it is.
You pay me early.
We try to do that for all of our
I think I gave you the money on mid-September and was told you were going to pay me on the 1st of every month, and I get paid on the 27th every single month.
So you're actually, if you do the math, you're making more than 10%.
That's right. No, but we'll talk about our situation because I do want to get back to that question because I cut you off. What's your favorite way to make money in real estate?
So it's going to grow into being a private money lender. I want to just build up enough capital where I can lend out my money to make money. I don't have to worry about anything else other than vetting who I lend my money to. Now that's easier said than done. Here's a tricky problem. When you have the stock market's easier than real estate to deploy your money. I can put all of my money to work tonight in the market, every single cent I have. You cannot do that in real estate and safely. Mm-hmm. Right? So, Brad, if you were like...
I can give it to Cardone, can't I? I could just give all my money.
I guess. So how about safely with a good return? How about that? So, for example, Brad makes 10% with us, and we cover all fees, wiring fees, lawyer fees, everything. Grant Cardone pays 6% and then subtracts all his fees. So more like 5%. So you're making double with us, essentially. Not only that, but the house is deeded to you as a deed of trust. You won't get any of that with Cardone. It just goes into a huge fund. You don't even know what property you're invested on. They'll send you a picture, but you have no idea. I want to be a private money, hard money lender and just vet my borrowers and just kind of lend money that way, because I can make 12 to 16%, 10 to 16%, safer on the 10. It gets a little bit gambly on 16, up to 20 on my money, and have an asset-backed loan where if these people default, where you can't do this in the stock market, if these people default, I can go get that house. So I can vet that property, and I know how to now. I can go vet that property. I don't mind giving you $80,000 on a property I know is worth $100. Because if you fail, if you don't pay me my money, I'll go get it. It's not always easier. It's a little easier said than done, but at least I have something to go get. Give Apple $100,000, let them go to zero, and what do you get?
Right, nothing.
Right? Do you get to go to their meetings? Do you get to call them up? Do you get to have a talk with the CEO when they're not doing what they're supposed to do? No. I'm a stock market guy too. I'm invested in the stock market. But real estate is, I think, better for that reason.
No, that's great.
Yeah, so you're hard money lending now. But what's maybe, I don't even know the way to ask this, because I'm not even saying that's an advanced technique, because that's the first thing that I did. Right. So like, it
is an advanced technique though. I mean, you got to have the money saved up, and most people don't start there. So the second part to your answer would be flipping or renting, I guess, is how most people start off. And I'm going to choose both. It depends on your market. It depends on what your personality is. It depends on who you have access to private money wise. It depends on so many different things on which one you do first, but just do one and figure out which one you like, or do both. It doesn't really matter. People get caught up on that, and they're like, well, the capital gains with flips. Okay. Paying capital gains means you made money somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't pay capital gains on money you don't make or lose, right?
Right.
So let me play off that even more then. So, let's say there's a newbie listening. He's like, okay, I can do both, but how do I know which one's for me? Like, is there a certain type of person that's for a flip and a certain type of person that's for a rental, or no?
Yeah, I think it could be personality based. So, a flip, usually needs a little bit more speed. It could take more work, because if it's a full flip, it needs everything. Not saying you can't turn a flip into a rental. Bryce does that sometimes. We've done that, but I don't see what the big difference would be. It's the numbers should determine it for you. Ultimately, the numbers should tell you. And are you trying to grow capital? If you're trying to grow capital, then you should flip.
Yeah.
Because now you could refinance the rental and get some out, but you'll make more on a flip if the numbers work out. So if you're trying to grow capital, go flip. If you're trying to grow passive income, go rental. And the other thing too is you can do rentals a lot easier when you don't need the cash flow.
Yes.
If you have income from other sources, or you have a large amount of capital to fall back on, I can technically get away with, I wouldn't do this, or do I teach it, but I can get away with a negative $200 cash flow a month on a property I buy. I can get away with that inevitably. I wouldn't want to. I'd rather buy better than that. But let's say for some reason, there's no way of knowing this, but let's say I know the equity in that house is going to grow tenfold over the next 3 years. I have no problem with a negative $200 a month cash flow. But how do you know that?
Yeah, you don't. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to ask too, and maybe this is just me and my research, when you're flipping, do you need more people involved, like as far as a team, than if you were to go buy and hold? I feel like with a buy and hold, you can get the place, you can fix it up a little bit because it's not really going to be that much work, and maybe have a handyman, or maybe you're handy. But I feel like with a flip, now your contractors are getting involved. I feel like there's more pieces in a flip. Is that just something that is in my own head?
I think it's a little bit in your own head, because either way, depending on the stage or the condition of the property when you buy it, you're going to have to manage contractors regardless. Mm-hmm. You can buy a flip that's almost done. You can buy a rental that's almost done. You can buy ones that need everything from the ground up. Again, location is ultimately going to determine this. We have areas here where we know we can buy it and rent it, but we'll never get market value or enough money out of it to flip it, because the market determines that. So the rent is in places where you can't flip. Sometimes the rent is good. The cash flow is good. So I'll give you a perfect example. The West Side where we live, right? We can buy a house there for $5,000, right? I've done this.
Sorry, New Yorkers.
I'm owner financing a house right now. I bought, this is a personal one of mine. I bought it for $6,800 all in. I put a sign in the yard, and it was not livable. I advertised it as such. I sold it in 3 days for $20,000 and $3,500 down.
So how'd you find that? How'd you find the $6,800 to where somebody else wouldn't have found it?
So it was, she was a member of my gym. Everybody knows what I do. Another tip for you. If you're I told this to JJ when he started, there should be nobody in your life that does not know what you do for a living. Nobody. If you're around people and they don't know what you do for a living, you're failing at that aspect.
So true.
That's networking 101. If I could put a billboard on every side and afford to do that, or to be smart financially, I would do. I want everybody to know that I buy and sell houses for a living. I borrow money from people and give them a higher rate of return than what they could get anywhere safer. Mm-hmm. That's what I do for a living.
Such a good tip.
That's what I do. Because otherwise, it could just be a conversation at Starbucks. It could be a conversation anywhere, and you just lost out because that person is sitting there and he needs to sell his grandmother's house that passed away, but he has no idea that JJ's looking for a house to buy because JJ didn't say anything. So now he's going to put it on the market, and JJ could have had first dibs at it. So this was a member at my gym who knew what we did, right? They called our company. We vetted it. And I essentially told my partners, I said, we weren't ready for it as a company that day or that week. And I said, I want it personally. And they were like, go for it. It's your lead anyway. And so I took it, put a sign in the yard, sold it quickly. Again, I think I got the call in 2 or 3 days, had it under contract, and sold with $3,500 down. They're paying $688 a month. Keep in mind, I have 68. Do the ROI on $6,800 invested and a return of almost $700 a month.
It's insane.
So here's what can happen with that. They pay it all out, and I make $20,000 on $6,800 in 2 years. And I didn't do any work. I didn't even switch the locks out. I didn't do anything. Okay. I walked through it and took some pictures. That's the extent of it. Or I don't want this for them, but this is a real possibility in owner financing. They could pay me for a year with their down payment, and I make $12,000, give or take, over 1 year on my $6,800. They leave because they don't want it anymore, or they can't pay. I will sell it, and they fixed it up. They fixed up my house. I can sell it again. Again, I don't want this for them, so please understand listening to that. If it happens, it's part of the contract. I can sell it again for $5,000 or $7,000 down, and owner finance it now for $40,000 at $850 a month. And I could do this over and over again off of $6,800 inevitably.
So just quickly to jump back, I did some quick math. I think it's correct. If you do your $6,800 house and you were getting paid $668, you said a month?
$688.
Okay, so even higher, $688 per month in rent. That is a 121.41% cash on cash return. That's insane.
It's okay.
Wow.
And dude, and you haven't, quote, been doing this for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get for almost 4 years, but no. But again, I jumped into a pretty good system and had a good head start there. But yes, I mean, got a lot of experience very quickly, and I dove all the way in. But to kind of tie that back in, that would not be a good flip. That area is not good for flipping. So if I bought it for $6,800 and put the $50,000 that it needed into it, I would be
get
all
56.
in. Yeah, I would probably sell it for 65 or 70, netting me after realtor and everything like $1,000. Not a good ROI. So that's your location determines that. But let's say I was just stuck on flipping. I only want to flip. I just lost out on 121% ROI.
Now I know you want to. I got to give you the slay up, but John, you live in the perfect area to do this. You live in Charleston, West Virginia. I live in Long Island, New York. I can't find those types of deals here.
How bad do you want to flip houses? It's real. I know, moving or learning a new area is not the easiest thing. Yes, if you can flip where you live, buy rentals where you live, it's going to be easier. I can't start a beachfront property business here in West Virginia. I don't have any beaches. All right. If I really want to get into the beachfront property business, guess what I have to do? Right? If I wanted to start a jet ski business on the ocean, guess what I have to do?
You got to move, bro.
I have to move, or I have to set up a system in another location. And if I don't want that bad enough, then I'll stay where I'm at, and that's fine. Then you got to change your business plan.
Golden nuggets on today's podcast, man. I mean, seriously, it's perfect. people will say they want to do something or they can't do it, but they really want to really bad. But if you don't actually take the action to do it, you don't want to do it that bad. I mean, you can do anything you want. It's just, are you willing to make the sacrifice to make it happen?
And I mean, I could list even more sacrifices even within this company. So delayed gratifications is so big. I did it, I did it with my moving company. I did it like where I'm living right now. I'm still doing delayed gratification to this day. So, if you want some tips to get started in real estate investing, when I say get around the right people, I mean like tomorrow. I mean, if your best friend and you've been talking about real estate for a year, y'all aren't going to do real estate. You're not going to do it by yourselves. You would have done it by now.
Right. And I think I got locked up with you, and I'm going to ask you to like talk about the legalities because you know better. But essentially, you kind of just said that to me. I kept asking you over and over again as a friend, like, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? And then you were finally like, you have to do it, and we need to stop talking about it. Either we are going to continue this friendship and not talk real estate because you're just going to keep asking me, or I'm going to come to you with a proposition and it's going to be a good one and you're going to take it. And that's kind of, and I mean, I could say for hours the type of person that I think you are. So like, as far as vetting somebody you're lending money to, and I mean, all vegan jokes aside, you are, when I look at like, no, I'm serious. And if anybody follows you on Instagram, because that's really your focus, you have an awesome YouTube channel where you go through your before and after, but I think you'll admit like your Instagram is really what's going on. Like you are just a good human, regardless of anything else. You are a good human. And then all the other stuff is just ancillary. Like for me, I would give you 92 grand to do whatever if you called me and said, I wouldn't even ask you what it was for. That's the type of human you are. But there might be some people that when I talk about it, people are like, I got money. Like, how did you do that? And usually my default is, I got on bigger pockets and I met people and we met through this space. But what are the legalities around you advertising for money and accepting money from people and like the long and short of it?
Yeah. So first of all, I really appreciate the kind words, Brad. It means a lot to me. And so, yes, I can't jump on here and be like, hey, everybody email me if you got some money sitting around. That's illegal. I can tell you what I do for a living and that can spark an interest. I don't need to advertise. You just, and essentially in a few words, you just advertise for me, Brad. I pay you on time. I pay you early and you're getting exactly what you want. Most people don't need to hear anything else. And that's why
you give me too many updates. I'm like, dude, you don't have, okay. Like you'll be like, that leaky faucet, we got that knocked out today. I'm like, cool, dude. Thanks a lot, man.
That's because every dollar that comes into the company, especially any dollar that I raise, which is the majority of it, it's kind of my lane. I've raised just about $2 million over the last 60 days within our company. You're some of that, Brad.
Small sum.
but when that money comes in the company, I asked, once the conversation started, I've essentially brought your money in. I feel responsible.
Yeah.
When JJ gives me his money, I know that JJ doesn't have 10, 20 million laying around. And you know what's even more important than that? It doesn't matter if he does.
Yeah.
Still worked for, inherited. I don't care. It's his money that he's giving me and he trusts me with it. Right. So a lot of people start these businesses and they're like, well, if people got 100 grand laying around, they should know the risk. That's BS. That's true. BS. I treat our biggest investors' dollar exactly the same as I treat your dollar, Brad, inside the company.
I feel that way. I feel that way. That's not cliche. I feel
get the same amount of updates. So the legalities of that is I can't advertise it for it. And I can't market it unless we become an SEC fund. The Security and Exchange Commission, it's a bunch of licensing. It's a ton of money. And then we can pile everybody's money together. So another thing that we do is Brad has his own bank account. He knows that. He has his own bank account with our company. Yes, it sucks for me. I track, on average, with all of my companies, I track about 34 bank accounts. Is that fun? It's not a lot of fun, but I want everybody to feel safe and secure. Mm-hmm. Right? So when Brad's money's sent to us, it goes into his own bank account and it never mingles because that's illegal. If you are not a Security and Exchange Commission and you mingle people's money in investments, you're breaking the law. It just is what it is. Plenty of people do it. That's fine. And if you're 100% confident you'll pay your investors back, maybe they'll never know. But if shit hits the fan, excuse my language on the podcast, but if it does, Why was JJ's money's with Brad money on this house when Brad is supposed to be the sole deed of trust on it? Because now how does JJ get his money back?
Wow.
So there's legalities of that. Now we can advertise to accredited investors. So being an accredited investor, essentially what that means is you have at least $1 million in net worth, not including your house, your primary residence. So that cannot be included. Or you make $300,000 a year as a couple, and you plan to make that in going into the future. So if you just had a good year, that don't fly. You have to make at least that going into the future. And I think if you're single, it's 180 or 200. I haven't looked at it in a little while. But that's essentially the rules. And then however you feel about that. I'm a little weird on the accredited investor. I like it a little bit because I understand the reason of it. It's to protect stupid people with their money. But JJ doesn't need $1 million to be a good investor. I know that smart, JJ does what he's doing with his money. So I think it should be a test. I think it should be like a written test where you go test for it like DMV or something. I know that's the government diving in again. If they're going to dive in, that's fine. But do something a little bit more fair and don't exclude people. Like even me at one time, I had a lot of money and knew what I was doing with it, but I wasn't accredited yet.
Right. I don't think it should be a rule at all. I think every person should have the right to do whatever they want with their money, and no one should be able to tell them what they can and can't do.
And I think that's a fair argument. I think it's a fair argument.
But I don't know. Well, Jon, we've taken up a bunch of your time, man. Seriously, though, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. What an episode. I mean, so many golden nuggets. I do have one final question for you, though. And I like asking people, being selfish of me, because I feel like I learn every time someone answers this question. But it's, what would Jon say if right now, Jon, if you could go back to 21-year-old Jon, what's one or two things you would tell yourself if you could go back and say something?
I think it's a little bit what I was saying earlier, is get around the right people, get around the people that are doing what you want to do sooner. And I don't care what that involves. Get on meetup.com, go to these awkward meetings. Even if you're going to be the least smart person in the room, that's where you want to be. That's exactly where you want to be. Right? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's a real legit quote. And that's so get around those people and show them your work ethic. If you don't have it, then you might be out of luck. But show them your work ethic. Show them you're serious. Wash their cars. Power wash their houses. Clean their shoes. Show them that you're willing to do whatever it takes to learn. And some people will take advantage of that and you just keep moving. That's their problem, not yours. But most people in my position want to teach others, want to help others. And you will find that. But I want to see that you'll help yourself first. Right? I used to help everybody. Mm-hmm. And, I used to do another business of mine. I used to be a nutrition coach. And I used to train people in the gym. It was another side business I did for the longest time. But what I quickly learned is unless you want to lose the weight, unless you want to build the muscle, you want to. I can't make you. Nothing I can say to you, no amount of tracking, no amount of diet plans, no amount of checking in is going to make you do it unless you want to do it. Yeah. Right? That's just a matter of fact. But get around these people and ask them what you can do for them. I don't care what your skill, you can do something. You can take time off their plate somehow. Get around them, show them that, and go in that direction. Get away from the bars. I'm not saying don't have your life. If you're only 20 years old, listen to this. But maybe only go to the bar on Friday and Saturday night read. Have a good mix.
Dude.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm speechless. Like my experience with you, and it's been awesome, both as a friendship, as YouTube buddies, as common plant-based eaters, as now fathers. Like I enjoyed this, and we're going to have you, we're just about to hit 10,000 downloads for the app, for the podcast.
That's awesome.
And you are going to be our 100,000 guest. And that's only as we discussed last week, that's only going to be in about a month or so. So we're going to have you back on soon. But Jon, thank you so much. JJ, you have anything you want to add before we get out of here, bud?
I just want to say, first and foremost, thanks, John, for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your night, and the fact that it was like literally last minute. It's kind of how we roll, though. So, but no, man, I really do appreciate it. John, I don't know if you want to plug your Instagram or anything real quick to let everybody know who heard your story, where they can go follow and hear more about you.
No, I'm not an idiot. I got the two big YouTubers on here. You guys want to check out my YouTube at Jon Schoeller. But my Instagram is The Frugal Investor. And I appreciate any support I give over there. I think these guys know that I'm just on there at this point for education. Yes, the competitive side of me wants to make money on there because that's kind of your points, if you will. That's how life works. But I just love sharing with others and teaching others, getting other people a head start. And I really appreciate you both having me on. I'm so happy for you guys. I think you guys know I've been a big cheerleader of both you guys since day one. And I'll be over here cheering all the way and sharing your stuff.
You definitely clap when other people win, and you inspire me to do the same. And yeah, there's the frugality side, the new dad side. We have many more conversations to come. Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate you. Christmas is coming up. We hope you have an awesome holiday season. We'll get one more podcast out for you. I think we're recording this one two or 3 days before we get the next one out. Until we see you guys on the next one. Have a good one, guys.